The Breakfast Club had a conversation with the mayor of New York. And this dude passed the buck so daggone much. He took absolutely no responsibility at all. And I'm certain that the individuals there did not appreciate where he came from, man. And wow, Eric Adams says something foolish, man.
People don't often realize we're creatures of Albany. Albany passed the laws. We have to implement the laws that are down here.
Would you get on the
Olo?
Yeah, I think you're right that there is a difference between perception and fact and how people feel about safety and the way people feel about the subways. And I think it's your own rhetoric about the subways that has a lot to do with why people feel scared, despite the fact that millions of people ride the subway every day without incident. But you've continued to fearmonger about crime in the subways. You've added 2,000 police officers, despite the fact that you've acknowledged that the subways are not that dangerous. And I think you're right. And poor New Yorkers should not be the ones who bear the brunt of this, but they will if they already have the subway being turned into a place that they have to fear, that there's a National Guard, that there's a hypervisibility of police, that they're trying to stop people with certain records from even using them, and now you have this congestion price. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, let's go before. First of all, I would love to give me the quotes on my rhetoric because I'm lost on that. Can you?
Nah, you don't need no quotes on your rhetoric. Tell me, give me the quotes on some of the things I said. I know I said a bunch of foolish things, but please tell me. I like to use that argument whenever I'm having a conversation with my wife, and I know that she's right. And I like to say, okay, could you tell me exactly what I said? I'm talking about exactly. Did you record it? Hopefully you recorded it because I want to hear exactly what I said. Yeah.
You give me the quotes.
That you fearmonger about the subways?
Yeah,
you've consistently done that. Since the day one of your administration, one of the first things you did was add 1,000 officers to the subway because you claimed that the subways are unrideable. You and Hochul did this and said how dangerous it is, and you recently did that when you deployed the National Guard.
Sister, but that wasn't my question, Queen. My question was, what was my fear mongering? What did I say?
You continuously say, I could point to a number of videos and quotes and everything from you, but you've said repeatedly that the subways are dangerous, that New York is dangerous. You complain about crime relentlessly. So what I'm saying to you is, if you are saying that New York is the safest city, it's one of the safest big cities in this country, which is true, and you're recognizing that the subway stations are in fact not half as dangerous as they're presented to be, I'm saying, how do you reconcile how your rhetoric has played into people's fear?
Okay. And not even just rhetoric, I would say the actions, because she's right. If you tell us
which is different, which is different.
But it's the same thing though. If you put 1,000 police officers in the subway, 2,000 police officers in the subway, that don't make us feel safe. We think something's wrong if you're doing that.
Let me peel back again, because you gotta always peel back this stuff, because oftentimes how you're depicted in the media that I don't control is how people interpret you. I didn't put the National Guards in the subway. The governor did.
I know, but I know what you said.
But you said, Eric.
You stood with Governor Kathy Hochul and you co-signed that decision. You did. And I'm not saying this as someone who's following social media. I'm saying that as an attorney in the city and an activist who follows everything that you do.
We have been teaching people how to grow online. It's been absolutely amazing. We have 3 people who have been able to reach monetization in less than 30 days. Growing YouTube channels, some from 0 people. We have one guy who had 2 subscribers before he started working with me. He started helping him. His views went up 4.8 million%. We're super excited. If anybody ever want to grow on YouTube, you reach out to me with the word coach. Oh, they put somebody on a Breakfast Club that is from challenging the left. Ain't that something? I kind of like this. All right, is this a mainstay? Are they just trying it? Is this like a new seasoning that they're trying on the meat just to see if everybody enjoy it? Because I do. I like it.
Yeah, I'm glad you do. Because then you'll realize how I turned the city around. If you follow everything I do, you'll realize
I would say no, but we could get to that next.
Loosen up your tie, man. It's gonna be a long day.
Listen, and I enjoy every moment of it.
That's right.
Because this is what I do.
Right.
When you come with a serious history, if you follow everything I do, you know how long I've been doing this, and you know what my record is. So let's peel back what you just stated. Fear is perceived and felt. That's what fear is. So no matter, as I shared, that we have 6 felony crimes a day with 4 million riders, if people feel unsafe, when we get in the subway system, I ride the subway system and I talk to commuters, and I say, what are you feeling and how do I help you with that fear? They say, Eric, we see more visible uniform officers in our subway system. We're going to feel safer. We got it. Oh, can I peel
You can
it back?
talk. You can peel it back.
we got it that the numbers are down. We got it that we're back on the subway system post. But when we see, this is what the public is saying, when we see the visible presence of a uniformed officer, we feel safer. Now, you may say, Eric, I don't want to see a visible presence of a uniformed officer, and that's cool, but that's not what the overwhelming number of New Yorkers are saying.
And
Now, it's not something that usually politicians and preachers in blue cities, blue states, usually like to say that it's the Republicans who are over policing the black communities. Whereas you have this mayor right here, he's saying that he's doing it because the look of it, like having a huge police presence, that is something that his people asked for. But people who are on his side also say that it's the right who are over policing the black neighborhoods and communities. And him and other mayors alike, they never admit to the fact that it's them that's doing this and they're doing it for a reason. The only thing they got to do is communicate it. But this young lady right here, she's got him shook already. She's got him shook a
I
little
was saying
bit.
to you, the New York City Comptroller Brad Lander recently put out a report finding that 50% of the city is disappointed and does not feel safe based on your rhetoric about the subways and your over police presence.
Okay, well, sister, first of all, that's not what it says based on Eric's rhetoric. That's not, you keep using.
No.
They didn't say, did they say based on Eric's rhetoric?
Do you want to talk about based on your specific?
No, sister, I'm going back to what you said because you're an attorney. You
They
deal with
have.
facts. Did they say based on Eric's rhetoric?
They have. The city is they have multiple reports. The New York Times, the Gothamist, the city comptroller, and the Federal Monitor, who's tasked with making sure that NYPD and Rikers are in compliance with the law, have both submitted reports saying that since you became mayor, there's been a return of stop and frisk, that there have been over 15,000 stops, 97% of whom have been on Black and Hispanic people. A fourth of those stops and searches have been unconstitutional, and they've yielded very few results.
Now let's peel it back. Eric Adams, 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, testified in federal court that the federal court judge stated, based on Eric's testimony, we are going to rule against the police department. We were dealing with 1 million stops a year when I was with 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement. My advocacy is what turned it around from that 1 million stops a year. Look at the numbers right now.
I am looking at the numbers.
My advocacy and showing how to do policing correctly, because it's not that you want to eradicate proper police practices, you must make sure they do them right. And that is what I have been able to accomplish in this city, taking over 13,000 guns off the streets of the city of New York.
So he's saying that the city of New York is safer than it's ever been. Is that what he's saying? Because I would like to hear from somebody that's from New York that will also say the same thing. I just now saw really quickly, I watched half. I watched half of Lou Valentino's, and if you're not already following this channel, please make sure you do so. He go live every day, probably a couple of times a day, and he's on point with the type of information that he gets out there and researches. But he was talking about how dangerous it is in New York, specifically the Bronx. He had to go out to the Bronx, and that's where he actually just now moved his mom from out of the Bronx. And he was just talking about how dangerous is getting each day. It's getting worse, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. So that's one of the reasons why he goes out and he gets that information. But Eric Adams is not going to give you that information because, as you can clearly see, he wants to make sure that you look at his record. He wants you to know that the things that I've been doing have been getting votes. I've been getting in office. I've been winning. All right. And he wants to say that I've taken this off the street and I've taken that off the street. So in my mind, I can do no wrong. In my mind, things are looking better. But from what we're seeing, you know what I mean, randomly, and I'm about to show a couple of videos here, randomly, women all over New York are getting punched in the face by illegal immigrants and other crazy residents that's just outside. Just wanted to point that out. But it's one other part of this conversation I really wanted to tap into. Hold on one second.
New Yorkers don't feel safer.
Yeah.
So
there was a poll that came out with last week, right?
Yeah.
Right. And in that poll that came out by the CBC, it stated that the priorities of Mayor Adams is moving the city in the right direction. My priority. Now remember, 2 years, 3 months, brother. 2 years, 3 months. I inherited a pandemic. I inherited 180,000 migrants and asylum seekers that can't work that we have to house them every day. I'd inherit.
You called for a lot of them too, though.
No, we didn't,
You
brother.
said it was a sanctuary city. You told them.
Okay, let's see. That's why I
safe
said
You did say it was a sanctuary city. Thank you so much for pointing that out, Charlamagne the God. I appreciate that. Now, I want to hear how he breaks this down. Now, yeah, y'all about to hear something too, because I seen a little bit of this. Not a lot of it, but I seen a little bit of this, where he was asked about this whole sanctuary city thing, and he started blaming the federal government on attacking black mayors. He's going to say, you see where all this is happening. You see it's happening in New York. You see it's happening in Chicago. You see it's happening in this place and that place. What do those places all have in common? DC? What do all those places have in common? That's right, brother. Black mayors. We need to ask the federal government, why are they attacking black mayors? He tried to turn it into a race car type of thing. You know, that's what the race hustlers do, man. When they see them race dice come out, they want to get their shake in too. Come on, 7-11. Come on, give me some like 11. Come on, 4. Come on, 4. Bow. You know what I mean? That's always want to turn it into a race issue.
That's why it's important to have this conversation, because sanctuary city and the migrants and asylum seekers are two different issues. Sanctuary city, if you're undocumented, we can't turn you over to ICE or authority. Migrants and asylum seekers were paroled into here. They're here legally. They were paroled into. But what the federal government did and Governor Abbott did, they said, we're going to send them up to Chicago, New York, Boston. And the federal government is saying, Eric, you can't allow them to work. You got to give them housing. You can't stop the buses from coming in. You cannot turn them over to ICE. All of that is illegal. If I do that, we'll be breaking law. So when people look at...
Question, is that true? Did the federal government tell these sanctuary cities, these mayors of these sanctuary cities, that they cannot police the illegal immigrants, that they cannot put them back on a bus and send them somewhere, that they cannot not house them, that they can't tell them no for anything that they need? We have to, since you sent them here, the federal government sent them here to us, so we have to deal with that. That changes the conversation a little bit. It changes it just a little bit. All right. I need to look that up, because if that's the case and the federal government is saying, nope, y'all asked for them, so when they come there, you make sure you take care of them because you asked for them. I ain't got no issue with them sending them to them. None. Why? Because you voted for it. Y'all was loud. Y'all was the main reason why on day one, Joe Biden walked back everything that Trump tried to do to protect the border. And then he bragged about it. On day one, Joe Biden got the job as the president. He walked back every single thing that Trump already had in motion to protect the border, because all of these different states that he's naming, that Eric Adams is naming, said that they wanted immigrants to come to the country freely, that they thought that Trump was being racist for making the moves that he was making. Y'all remember that, right? So if they voted for it, and now the chickens have come home to roost, and now you got to deal with what you voted for, don't try to blame it on the federal government now. All right, so let's see how he plays this one out.
The migrants that are here, we didn't call people to come here. They were sent here by Governor Abbott, and the failure to secure our borders is allowing this to continue. And we're not getting any money from. We got about $100 million out of a $4 billion price tag. Look at Chicago right now. Look what's happening in Chicago right now. My brother, Mayor Johnson over there, what's happening with him. Look what's happening in Boston. Look what's happening in Houston, Los Angeles. And then do a comparative analysis of what's happening on our streets here. Wow, we dealt with that crisis, turned around our economy, outpacing the state in reading and math of our young people. I've been on Rikers Island more than any mayor in the history of the city, talking with inmates and correction officers to turn around what's happening on Rikers Island.
I know you go to Rikers in 2022 and there were 3 deaths back to back because corrections officers left their posts and allowed it to happen. You went to Rikers to express your support for the corrections officer. I know you go to Rikers. I do want you to do, Eric, Mayor Adams.
But you keep.
What she's doing is holding you accountable, bruh. What she's doing is saying the parts that you refuse to say. That's what she's doing. Hey, who is this lady? I love her. I like her. I can't say love her. Well, I love her as a human being. She's a daughter of our Father, the Lord.
Giving out misinformation.
It's not misinformation, Mayor Adams. I'm quoting the Monitor.
I was on Rikers Island this week. With a group of 12 young brothers who recommitted themselves to Christ. I went to see them in the morning. We prayed together because they said, this is not the first time you've been here. You've been here over and over, visiting us, talking to us, nurturing us, because I know what it's like to be locked up, because I was locked up as a child.
I know you were.
So I know what it's like to be treated unfairly because I'm dyslexic. When you do an analysis of the number of young brothers and sisters who are in Rikers or in jail, they're dealing with learning disabilities because they were never given the support that they have. That's why I have dyslexia screening, so we can catch people who are thrown overboard before they get thrown overboard. So we have a philosophical disagreement.
I'm glad that you brought up Rikers.
Your feelings towards police is different from mine.
This is not about my feelings to police. This is about the actual statistics that I presented from the Federal Monitor monitoring.
What do you say about her statistics, though? I mean, these are statistics.
These are Federal Monitor. Are you disputing with the Federal Monitor and the comptroller?
Think about this for a moment. Controller Brad Lander. Okay, please. If we're going to throw people in names on who we are independent sources, he should not be one of them. Think about this Federal Monitor.
The one that was independently elected by the people of New York, placed there?
But I was independently elected also.
And we've been there, and I'm addressing you.
So think about this for a moment. The Federal Monitor wants to take over Rikers, okay? Rikers has been dysfunctional for generations. Mm-hmm. I came in, decreased violence, put in real incentive programs for young people there, but I didn't do it from a distance. I went to Rikers and walked the halls and talk with inmates. We're doing workshops and support groups with inmates and find out, what do you need to be here? We instituted real turnaround programs there with the sisters that's now in the correction officer. That's the Commission of Corrections there. So I didn't do like other mayors. I didn't sit back and say, let me just turn my back on what's Rikers. I said to those Rikers inmates when I got elected, I'm coming here, I'm going to see what you're going.
Okay, he keep on giving his heartfelt stories as to why he's Captain Save 'em, why I went to these prisons and I did all of these things for these young men who are only here because they're dyslexic. No, bro, they're there because they wanted to commit crimes. They're there because they wanted to take shortcuts. They're there because they showed no consideration for whoever they victimized. That's why they're there. So everybody got a heart. But as soon as the young lady mentioned something, you talking about her feelings. Oh, you feel like. No, that's all you're talking about is what you feel like. And then you want to continue to tell your story from a heartfelt position where I went and I walked the halls and I talked to these young brothers and I wanted to see what they needed while in here and how can I best serve them because they are the world, they are the future. And bruh, spend more time in your city doing that. So, how about you do that? Spend more time in New York. Spend more time in New York trying to figure out how to reduce crime there, how to stop women from getting punched in the face from random immigrants. How about that? No, but you spending all this time, he's trying to let people know that I have a heart for the people. Is what he's doing, which all Black Democrats like to do. Like they would turn that to like, I got a heart for not only Black Democrats, white Democrats too, especially white Democrats. And if we were to talk about the word racism, white Democrats are the reason why I would say racism is definitely still alive because white Democrats are racist. A lot of them are. I know some cool ones. I know some really cool ones actually, but for the most part, the way that they think, the way that they buy into this whole white supremacy thing, because in order for to buy into white supremacy, you have to think that somebody is inferior to that which is superior. And if you think that white people are superior to Black people, that to me tells me that you are racist. Sorry. And then you do all of these things to try to equal the playing field. You're not smart enough to work, to get into our schools. So we're going to make sure that there's 50 slots for you all that can't make it by your own merit because we know that you need it. You can't compete with us. We know you don't have the proper schooling and the proper teachers and the proper this and the proper that. And you probably don't have time to study because when you go down and you're trying to look into your books, you always trying to duck bullets because in your neighborhoods and communities always so dangerous, right? And it's nobody to call because even in your communities, the police, they're racist too. So yes, so anybody that look at another human being as a pet project, to me, is racist. Stop looking at people as a pet project.
Went through and want to make sure you leave here better than how you got here in the first place. And we started instituting programs to do so. So that same federal monitor, go look at the federal prisons. That federal monitor wanted to take over our prisons after I had it only 2 years and 3 months. No, they wanted to take over my first year. Although crime was going, violence was going down, and people say, "Well, Eric, people are dying on Rikers. Look at how they died. People are coming into Rikers in terrible medical conditions
and not getting their medical appointments.
It's not that they were dying because correction officers were killing."
He want to slap her. He want to slap her. He want to slap her in the face. Hey, he want to slap her in the face, man, for real.